welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to share with you guys my birth story, or like my labor and delivery and birth story. I'm not really sure what to call it, but basically the story about the day that my daughter was born. So she is currently 7 weeks and 2 days old, which I cannot believe. She was born on February 18th, 2020, and it is almost 2 months later, which I can't believe. So anyway, let's get right into the story. So on February 17th, I went walking with one of my friends, and I'd been walking for probably the past 2 weeks before that, like just trying to keep things moving, hopefully, if anything was happening. I had been slowly dilating between like 1 centimeter a week the last 3 weeks, I think, if I remember correctly. So I'd been walking, just trying to get something to happen, and it wasn't working. So my friend and I were walking, and she actually kind of thought that I was pregnant before we knew, predicted that it was a girl. And then on this day she was like, you know, you guys, we ended up going on a date that night. She's like, you guys are gonna go to dinner and then you're gonna go into labor like overnight or tomorrow or something like that. So Daniel and I went to Texas Roadhouse that night for dinner, and we had a really good time. We just got to talk and eat, and yeah, we had a fun time on our date. And so we came home, went to bed like normal, and then around 12:30 in the morning I woke up from, I was dreaming, and so in my dream I could feel pain, and I was dreaming about cereal, and I clean at my church, and in my dream I had to clean cereal from the church or something. I woke up around 12:30 and I was like, what the heck? And I figured I was just feeling Braxton Hicks contractions, because I'd been having those the past few weeks as well. So I got up, went to the bathroom, and I got back in bed, and I noticed that they weren't going away. So it's like, okay, that's weird, but like they didn't really hurt that bad. So I downloaded one of those contraction counters or timers, and I started timing the contractions, and they were lasting about a minute, and they were about 6 minutes apart. So I got up again, I went downstairs to the living room, and I called my OB office, and they like put you through to the on-call doctor, I think at the hospital, I'm not really sure, but they put me through to the on-call doctor. I told her what was happening, and she said that I should probably go to the ER. So I went upstairs, woke up Daniel, told him that we needed to go. So he got up, we got ready. I took a shower quick because I just wanted to make sure that I felt clean before I left. So I showered, and we left around 2:15, so we got to the hospital around 2:30. We got put in one of the triage rooms, and I got checked. I took notes so that I don't forget anything. So yeah, when we got there and they checked me, I believe I was about 4 or 5 centimeters dilated. So I think they had me on the monitors for a little bit, and then had me walk around for a while. And so we were walking, and for some reason, like in the beginning part of labor, like I kept getting super nauseous sometimes, and I hate puking. I haven't really puked in like since I was like in 3rd or 4th grade. Like it's been years, and I kept getting super nauseous, like not the whole time, but just like randomly, and I would have to like sit down, or like I think I was squatting down against the wall kind of and breathing, and like I'm not gonna puke. So anyway, yeah, we walked a bit and then sat back down, or yeah, got back on the bed. They checked me again, and I was still about the same. So then they monitored me for a while longer. Finally around 6 in the morning, I want to say, they called my doctor and asked what she wanted them to do. So since I'd been progressing each week a little bit, she didn't want me to go home, which I was super excited about. So they finally admitted me to the hospital around 7 in the morning. So we got admitted to the room. They started Pitocin, and I think when I got into the room, I was still about 4 or 5 centimeters, and then the nurse had me get onto one of the balls and start bouncing to get the baby in a different position, and by that point I was around 6 centimeters. The timing, like what time everything happened, is kind of a blur, but I remember, so once we got into the room and once I was like bouncing on the ball, I wanted to just cry because of the pain, and for some reason I like didn't think that I was allowed to cry. And so I remember like bouncing, and then I just finally kind of started crying, and then I'm pretty sure from that point on I just didn't stop crying. And so by the time that I actually gave birth, my eyes were so swollen and just like salty and sticky, and I had my contacts in, so that was great. But anyway, I believe around 10:30 in the morning, I had fentanyl, so I did not want an epidural, and I didn't really, I just wanted to kind of see what my body could do, so I didn't go in with really any expectations. I just wanted to see how far I could go with no medications. And so whenever the nurse asked me, she's like, this is your last chance. If you want pain medicine, you should take some now. So I was like, you know what, I might as well, like, this is really uncomfortable. So I had fentanyl, I want to say for about an hour, because I could only see the minute side of the clock. I couldn't see the hour. So I believe it was from about 10:30 to 11:30. And when I had the fentanyl, I just, like, I couldn't keep my eyes open. So my mom and Daniel were in the room with me, and I could hear their conversations. I would kind of chime in now and then, but I could not for the life of me keep my eyes open. So I just felt like a zombie. I don't even know. It was really weird. And then towards 11:30, my contractions were not stopping. They were just continuous because the Pitocin was a little bit too high. So when the nurse came back, she adjusted that, and then eventually the fentanyl wore off or something. I remember I got up, went to the bathroom and stuff, and then I felt like I needed to push, but I was still not fully dilated. So I was like 8 or 9 centimeters, and I felt like I needed to push, and I wasn't fully effaced yet either. So at one point when my nurse checked me, she broke my water. I don't know if she did that on purpose or if it just happened, but my water did not break on its own. So she did break it, and I remember it was just a really uncomfortable feeling. And I felt, in my mind, I don't know if I was acting like it, but in my mind I felt really cranky during labor. Like, it was just so uncomfortable. But it wasn't as bad as people say it is, at least for me. But, like, you know, it's all relative, and everyone's pain tolerance is different, so I don't really know. Just in my mind, it wasn't quite as bad as I was expecting. So anyway, I started having to, like, involuntarily push, and I just felt like, oh, like, I need to push so bad. And so then they kind of started getting everything ready, like getting the bed set for the baby and calling the doctor, and then she finally got in there. And so I believe I officially started pushing around 12, and I don't know. So when I was pushing, I felt like I had no idea what I was doing, and it felt like I was doing nothing, but who knows. So I'm not sure if I was pushing for an hour or 30 minutes. So I think I started pushing around 12, but I don't feel like I pushed for that long. So it was either an hour or 30 minutes. And then at 12:50, Scarlett was born. So I pushed, and then they pulled her out, put her on my chest, and then so I have her up here, and they're yanking and pulling out the placenta and everything, stitching me up. The stitching was really uncomfortable, and I just felt like kind of just traumatized because of all the pain. And so I just was like so uncomfortable holding my baby, and it's just such a rush of everything. And so finally they're done stitching me up and everything, and Scarlett latched on. She nursed for a little while right after she was born, and when she first came out and they put her on my chest, she was lifting her head up to, like, look at me. Like, this girl is so strong. So that was crazy. So they got me cleaned up, got her cleaned up, and then we went to the recovery room, or in the maternity ward. I think it's the recovery room. And it was great. All of our family was there to come meet her, and we were very fortunate enough for this to happen right before this pandemic started happening. So at the point when she was born, visitors were allowed in the hospital, and it was so special to just have everyone there and just everyone loving on her. So everyone was there and got to meet her. And so after I gave birth, within a few hours my eyes got bloodshot, and I did not realize. I thought they were just like pink bloodshot, but I had burst like all the blood vessels in my eyes from pushing, and I didn't realize that could happen. So I'll show you some pictures and video clips of what that looked like. It did not hurt at all. It did not affect my vision at all. It just looked really creepy, and I had no idea it happened. So I think instead of pushing with like my abdomen, I was pushing more in my face. So I'm hoping that next time I am able to push not with my face, so that doesn't happen. But like I said, it didn't hurt, although I did not realize that could happen. I didn't realize it happened to people. And then after I had to like go to places with my face like that, people told me that it happened to them as well. Not a ton, just a few, but I was completely unaware that could happen. right after you give birth, they have to like kind of push down on your uterus and stuff and make sure that you're bleeding good and all that. And so they check your bleeding for at the hospital I was at anyway, it was the first 2 hours. Every 30 minutes they came in and checked the bleeding and pushed down on my uterus. And the maternity nurses were much gentler with the pushing than the labor and delivery nurses, but you know, they know what they're doing. And we had such a good experience at our hospital. All of the nurses and doctors and everyone was just amazing. And I forgot to say this earlier, but so when I first got admitted, they had to take my blood and give me the IVs and stuff. And I am pretty sure having that IV in my arm was one of my least favorite parts about labor and delivery and everything, because it was just so uncomfortable. And it stung at first, and it just like, I couldn't move my arm the way I wanted to. I hated it, but whatever. I lived to tell about it, so I'm fine. As the evening is going on, the nurses need you to get up and go pee. And so I had to get up and go try at one point, and I tried and just nothing was happening. So they gave me, I think 6 hours, 3 or 6 hours, I don't remember. And then I was gonna have to try again. So I ended up being extremely swollen down there. So the night that Scarlett was born, it was probably more like Wednesday in the early morning, like 12 or 1 a.m. They had to give me a catheter, and I remember laying there, I'm holding Daniel's hand and I'm crying, and in my mind I'm just like, I can never do this again. Like, we're not having any more children. I thought we were gonna have like 5, but nope, we're only having 1. There's no way I can do this again. And at that point, I had been awake for about 24 hours straight and had given birth, so that's kind of a lot for your body to go through. So after they put the catheter in, I went to sleep, and I slept for about 5 straight hours, which was apparently exactly what I needed. I woke up in the morning and I felt a million times better. If you've given birth before, you know that like after, you just feel like you've been hit by a truck, just exhausted. It's emotionally draining, physically, it's mentally tiring. It's the most incredible experience, but it's also the most exhausting experience. So anyway, the next morning I woke up and I felt so much better, and I was like, you know what, I could do that again. I could totally do that again. And so after the initial shock of it all, I got some sleep, felt so much better. And yeah, over the next day, the swelling went down. I was able to go to the bathroom, and Thursday, so I had her on Tuesday afternoon and we got to go home Thursday afternoon. So we had to stay at the hospital for about 2 days, but that was mostly just because of my swelling, I believe, since I wasn't able to pee. Everything with the baby was great. She did fail her hearing test the first time, but then when we went back to retest, she passed it with flying colors. And so when that happens, they usually, like most of the time, there's just a lot of gunk from birth still stuck in their ear canals, and that's why they don't do well on the hearing test. So yeah, I had such an amazing birth experience. I did have 2nd-degree tearing. I believe it was all inside. I didn't tear down, I think. I'm not really sure what tore. My doctor just said that I tore on the right side. So I don't know how many stitches I had or anything like that. I just know that it was on the right side, and I had 2nd-degree tearing, which I think you can get up to like 4th-degree tearing. So all things considered, it was not, like, I didn't tear all the way straight through, you know. Thank the Lord, I am so glad. So yeah, giving birth for me was amazing. It is one of the most empowering experiences I've gone through, and I was so in awe of the way that God created our bodies to give birth and to create a baby. Like, just the whole, from conception to giving birth to nursing, everything, like just the way that our bodies were created, it just blows me away. And then seeing your little baby and how perfect they are, it's just mind-blowing. So yeah, that is my story. I think I remembered everything. The day that she was born, the weather was really bad, so all our siblings got to the hospital around 8 a.m. and they had to wait for 6+ hours until they got to see Scarlett after she was born. But they were all there, so that was so special. I last minute decided to have my mom in the room with me, which I was very thankful for. She was a great support for me and for Daniel too. Daniel was awesome, supporting me through labor, and I couldn't imagine like being in that position, because you know when someone's in pain and you can't do anything about it, it just really stinks. But he did a great job just trying to encourage me and keep me motivated and just being there for me. So yeah, all in all, it was an amazing experience, and I hope that I remember it. And so yeah, I hope I didn't forget anything, but you know what, I think we're not supposed to remember all of it, because if you remember the pain, you know, you're probably not gonna want to have any more kids. But at this point, I can't even remember what it felt like exactly. And everyone says that, but it's true. Like, after it happens, you kind of forget, which is a good thing. So anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe before you leave, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.